everybody. Welcome to Tuesdays with Tilde. I'm Tilde Guajardo, the founder of Womanars, and really excited to have you join us today. And I just wanted to make an announcement, Dave. I didn't tell you this when I first arrived, but we have gone over the 10,000 mark on our Facebook page yesterday. And so, yes! It was my goal to hit that at the end of September. So we almost did. We were a few days off, but really excited. I want to thank all of you who have been following us and just sharing our Tuesdays with Tilde and all our other content and our events. Really appreciate all the support that you've given us and in helping us to reach the mark and reach our goal, and hopefully to reach our next goal of 20,000 before the year is out. Right, Dave? Yeah. So anyway, please let us know if you can hear us okay, if the video's good, if the audio's good. Would really appreciate just a like or a thumbs up or just a comment to let us know that you can hear us and that you're there. Also, let us know where you're coming from. Love to see where you're tuning in from. I know that we have followers from all over the world, which is really exciting as well in building this global platform. So just let us chime in the comments and let us know where you're watching from. Would love to hear from you. So today we have a really special guest, and her name is Heather Havenwood. She has dubbed herself the Chief Sexy Boss, which I think is awesome. And she is a serial entrepreneur with a lot of online marketing and business strategies that she's helped people grow their $1 million companies. And I'm really excited to have her here. So Heather, thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to join us today.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm excited to be here. I wish I was there in person, but this is just as well. So thank you for having me.
I know, and you're just right down the road in Austin. So for all our friends that are in Austin, be sure and connect with Heather. Because I'm part of a group called Empowering a Billion Women. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that or not, Heather, but a lot of the leadership is right there in Austin, Texas. So a big shout out to Ingrid Vanderveld and her group there. Can you tell us a little bit about, because I know that your bio states that you started back in 1999 with online marketing and helping people grow their businesses. Tell us a little bit about your personal journey of how you got there and now here in really focusing on helping women the way that you are.
Well, it's been a journey. I have to say it's definitely a journey because entrepreneurship, I think, is something that's not a destination. It's something that found me. It's not something I went out and found. It's not like I woke up and said, I want to be an entrepreneur. It was actually, I was in corporate America like many women in Fort Worth, Texas, down the street from you. And I was #1 in the country in corporate America at Southwestern Bell Wireless, was SBC Global, huge company. And I was 25, 26 years old, and I was beating the big boys, literally. I was #1 out of 10,000 reps, mainly men in their 40s. I was outside business to business sales. And I was this little Fort Worth, Texas girl beating people in Dallas and New York and Chicago. And I wasn't very well liked. I didn't understand that. I was just doing what I was supposed to do, was sell. And so I got fired. I was in Fort Worth, Texas, and I got fired actually right after I got my big award saying, congratulations, you're the top top at the top 1% of the entire country out of the company. And then I get fired and I'm totally confused. And actually, so I took a few months off wondering what I do. I thought, Tilde, that I work for a company, I make them money, they give me money, and we're happy. Like that's how it went. You know what I mean? And so I was taught that at a young age, go to college, work good for a company, they'll give you money, then you make them money, and you're happy-go-lucky. And that's how I thought it would go. And that's what I was doing in Fort Worth, Texas. And then I got fired, and it was really a blow for me on a couple levels. One, because my direct boss was a woman, and she was the one who didn't like me. And then that moment I had this it was a betrayal of women. You know what I mean? I'm like, wait a minute, I thought you had my back because I've been surrounded by men here and I can't even rely on you. And so I had a really hard time with that. And then big corporate America, I didn't know how to play politics is basically what it was. I didn't understand political inside a company. I didn't get it. And I still really don't, actually. But if I looking back, that's what happened. And one day I was sitting in a girlfriend's house right there, 635 in North Dallas, and I saw this infomercial not lying, an infomercial, and it basically said, do you want to control your life? Do you want to, control everything and make a lot of money, your own money? And I'm like, yeah, like that's all I knew. So I went to the seminar right there on 635. I think it's a Hilton hotel, or it was back then. And I sat to strangers. I sat there for a 90-minute presentation, and they're like selling me a $3,000 seminar. Okay. How to create a business. I mean, this is an infomercial. Okay. And sitting there all excited. Like, I want this. I'd have $3,000 on my credit card. And then they said, but for spouses, it's $1,000. So I nudged the guy next to me. I don't know his name, John, Joe, Jim. And I was like, yo, can I be your spouse? And he's like, sure. So we go up there, different last names, different mailing address, everything. And I'm like, I'm his spouse. And I give a different credit card. And, the people behind the counter was like, yeah, right. But it was $1,000 for them, so they didn't care. And so I went to the seminar like a week later. The guy never showed up. I guess my husband never showed up.
Yeah, your faux husband.
Yeah, and so that's how I got into entrepreneurship, to be honest. Like, it found me. That's what happened. So in North Dallas was the moment that I signed my life away to lead in my journey of entrepreneurship. It's kind of a long story, but it's a fun one.
Yeah, that's a great story. I love that you just asked somebody if you could be their spouse. That's perfect. And then they don't even show up to the class. How crazy is that?
I know they asked me to go, isn't your spouse here? I'm like, I don't know. I don't even know his name. Like, is it your spouse? I'm like, they got my $1,000 out of it. So it's fine.
Yeah. So what year was that? And what happened, after that seminar? What did you start doing that you hadn't been doing?
What was really interesting is in 1999, I was finishing my education at University of Texas at Arlington, and I got actually one of my marketing professor, just marketing, just a marketing class. She's like, hey, I got approved to do this 3-hour class, 3 credit hours for internet marketing class, and this is 99. Okay, you got to get the world of that. And so she, kind of tapped about 10 of us on the shoulder and like, are you interested? I got approved. Yes, you will, get credit. And we're like, sure. So I spent a whole semester creating an entire business online. That's what the whole semester was. She's like, we're going to create a business online. That's what you're going to do. And so I started doing this business online, but I didn't know what I was really doing. I created the whole plan and started doing it and whatnot. And then all of a sudden I got fired, right? Then I thought, okay, I started working for the company doing seminars. So I started traveling around the country doing these seminars, and I learned a very unique skill. I learned the skill of selling face to face. I learned the skill when you walk into, they literally drop you in a city, whatever the city is, and then you have 3 days, you have 6 presentations, and that's all you have to make as much money as you possibly can. And you have to learn quickly, know, like, and trust, and sell. Sell. You learn the art of promotion. You learn the art of direct response. You learn the art of asking for the money quickly. If not, you don't eat. No kidding. We either eat ramen noodles at night, like in our hotel when we're eating crackers, or we're going to the steakhouse, right? Like, depends on how we did. And you learn quickly the art of all the things I think women have a hard time with: asking for the money, right? Closing the sale, getting in front of people, telling them how great you are, and then 20 minutes later asking them for $3,000. I mean, whoa, that is a lot in your head, and that's I had to learn how to do. So I did that for almost 7 years, and that's what kind of brought me to this today as an entrepreneur. I help a lot of women in the sales and marketing department, and it's really considered who I am as an internet marketer and direct response marketing. And I learned so many lessons on the road. I mean, it's just incredible. And it was me and 4 guys, in a mini go across the country, which is stories within itself. But
so, what were some of your biggest lessons, during those 7 years?
Well, one of my biggest lessons, I remember I was put on what I call the C team, which probably meant crappy team. And we were getting sent to like Peoria, Illinois. Where is that, right? And like these small towns. Meanwhile, our counterparts, our other teams, they were going to LA and New York and, Seattle, and staying in these really nice hotels. And we're staying in like really bad, smelly Holiday Inn, seeing like 20 people. And I thought, okay, how do we change this? And so I started to, it was basically based on our speaker. And we were a team environment. So I said, okay, I'm going to go learn. I started literally watching people who are masterful presenters on stage. I'm talking, like a Tony Robbins, where they get on stage and after like 30 minutes or 45 minutes, you want to buy a $10,000 package and you have no clue why.
Right.
Like those people,
yeah.
Like, why do I want to buy this $20,000 package to see him for 1 hour? I don't know. I'm going to do it. Like, I started to learn the art of sales, stage sales, which is very challenging, to be in front of a room with 10,000, 1,000, 10 people, one person, and basically sell them a large ticket item. So I started learning that and then started teaching that to my speaker. And all of a sudden we're going to Denver. Now we're going to New York. And now we're going to LA. And we went from a 10% closing ratio to a 25% closing ratio. Wow. Now we're eating it like, we're with Chris. We're all excited. We're like, wow, this is cool stuff. We're flying first class, and now it's a whole different lifestyle when you're flying that way. But I learned the art of presentation, learned the art of communication, learn the art of, I'm going to be in front of you. And within 90 minutes, Tilde, I have to get you to a point of know, like, and trust me, and hand over $3,000. And I hand you nothing more than just a piece of paper.
Wow. There's
a lot of psychology that happens. Yeah. And so I learned the art of direct response marketing and copywriting. And copywriting, I feel, is the number one skill set every single entrepreneur in the world has to know. Mm-hmm. And copywriting is really the art of persuasion through words, right? Some it's written, some it's communication, some it's in front of you, the presentation. All that is copywriting. And that is what I call the biggest skill I learned. And now I use that online. So I've been able to, it's easier for me now to go online. We call that video sales letters now, or, long form sales letters. These are all just different forms of direct response marketing, right? It just looks differently now, right? Because one of the things that I learned quickly is that human beings do not change. We have not changed. We haven't changed. We haven't changed how we buy and why we buy. Okay, from the 60s to the 20s to now to 2016, doesn't matter. Now, the mechanics of how we buy might be we sitting at home or on our iPad. The mechanics have changed, but the why, the human nature, has not altered for thousands of years. Read the Bible. It's all based on the same human nature it is today, Exactly. Just the mechanics are different. So the art form of persuasion and influence and communication is wealth.
Mm-hmm. What, I guess, well, first let me tune into our Facebook live group for just a second and remind you guys, if you are watching and you have some questions for Heather, please put them in the comments. This is a great opportunity to have access to her. She normally doesn't do this. So please have, if you have any questions on internet marketing or business strategies, please put them in the comments as you listen to her speaking, and maybe it gives you an idea, or maybe you're struggling with something, you're facing an obstacle in your personal business. Please just ask the question, and we'll try to get to it as soon as we can. So just wanted to throw that in there, Heather, for anybody that's watching. And also, even if you're watching this on demand, put those questions in there anyway. I'm sure Heather will be taking a peek a little bit later and just checking to see whether or not she can help any of you as well. So just really appreciate you taking the time, Heather, to do that for us and for the audience.
Absolutely.
So what do you see? Because I know that you work, a lot with sales, and I know you've helped me in just the little bit of time that we spent together on the phone, really to give me a little bit more clarity on my own sales and things like that, what I can do in my own business. So what are some of the, let's say, the top 3 things that you see women struggling with the most? Let's take, for instance, the communication, and the copy. What are some mistakes that you see women making that they can potentially just change right away?
The first thing is confusion never buys. Okay. Mm-hmm. And clarity is power. Right. And I mean that from a personal standpoint as well as a message standpoint. If people are confused about what they're buying, they're not going to buy. And the challenge is we as women sometimes, and I'm generalizing here, is that we talk in circles versus talk direct, right? Ask for the money. Yes, I want you to give me $3,000. that's kind of like aggressive or whatever. And it's like, yes, I'm going to ask you $3,000 for this value. And then we try to like reason why, or here's why, or, what I'm going to give you. It's like, no, I'm asking for $3,000 for my time, energy, and effort. You're getting 15 years of my time, energy, effort, and lessons in that time zone, in that time frame that you're going to hand me over. You're literally buying 15 years of experience at $3,000, and it's asking for that money. And the one of the things I always talk about is clarity. When one has clarity, one has power. When one has power, there's wealth. Okay. And when you have wealth, you can actually communicate. When you have communicate, you can wealth. It just kind of goes back and forth. The key is clarity. And I remember when I was after my bankruptcy, one of my mentors said to me a little quote, and it said, "Does it speed my confusion or strengthen my clarity?" And he told me to take that question to everything that I do, including marketing, including this video with you and helping in Womanars. All of this comes from a place of clarity. When I add clarity to you, right, I add clarity to me. And when I add clarity here, I add power. And when I add power, we have wealth. That's only the time the attraction can come to you on any level. Okay. If we start talking in circles and around, not making any sense, people like get confused and they turn off.
Right.
So the number one thing in messaging and turning from your mess to messaging is getting clear on one piece of the message, one thing, one element, and you drive that home. Okay. So on one of my interviews I did with here locally in NBC, KXAN in Austin, if you listen to the recording and I was interviewed, I came down with one message: don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for perfect. Don't wait for perfect. Now, I've never had anyone say, wow, you said it like 6 times. I think I said it like 10 or 15 times. But I know that in attention span of a 2.5 minute interview, right? They come away with one thing. Right. Don't wait for perfect. That's Heather Havenwood said, don't wait for perfect. Awesome, right? I got my message across. I don't try to do 10 or 15 things at once. So the number one thing, and when you're working with your message, what is your message? To get really clear. And it can't be the answer called, well, everyone wants my message. And everyone will be elated with my interest. When I say, hey, Sarah, who's your target market? Everyone. Wrong answer. Let's go back.
I'm sure you get that glazed look over your eyes, like
you're laughing because you know this person. You know what I mean? You're like, I know that girlfriend of mine, and she says that like everyone needs yoga. You're like, well, true, and you have a market. Right. So it's about kind of what I call the wealth is in the niches. The wealth is in the niches, and you can expand the niches, right? Women, right now we're doing women. Women is a mass market. Okay, we're 50% of the planet. However, you also have a niche inside of that. Okay, and so the message to market is a real critical piece. The other part of that is like, who is your market? And I call it your avatar. Yeah. Okay. And the best way to describe avatars, because you've heard that before. I mean, that's so boring, right? But the best way to describe an avatar is I think of Homer Simpson. Right? We know if he's married or not. We know where he likes to go after work, which is like a tavern or something. I don't even know the name, right? Some tavern. We know what he does for a living. I think he works in a factory. We know what kind of beer he drinks. I mean, you're like, we know this guy. Right. He lives in the burbs. I think he's got 3 kids and a dog. Right? I mean, crystal clear who this guy is. I mean, Bob, Homer Simpson, there's the avatar. You want to get like super clear on your avatar like that. Whoever it is, Sarah or Jane, whatever. She live in the burbs, she live in the city. Is she 21 or is she 55? She have 3 kids, they have a dog, or she a cat girl. Like, you want to get super clear on who that is. So when you're doing all of your message to marketing all over social media as well as email marketing, you're talking to that one person, not 1,000, one girlfriend. Right. You're talking to that one person. So those are just 2 things I think that if you can get those down pat, which is I call clear message to market avatar, and getting what I call clarity as power, and owning one message right there, it's just a huge shift for everybody.
Right. And I think I've also seen, in just getting the newsletters from a lot of the people that I follow, like Brendan Bouchard and Michael Hyatt and those guys, I've seen them kind of transform the way that they market now. It's very personable. It's very authentic. It's short, sweet, to the point. it feels like you're talking to a friend as well, and it's not salesy, so to speak. What are your thoughts on that?
Oh yeah, it's authentic, and you have to be really what I call connecting with them. Even when I was in, in the big seminar room where we had 100 people or 50 people or 100, your job was to connect to people, not talk at people.
Right.
Who here has not been to an event or a presentation and you feel like the presenter is talking at you?
Right.
You know what I mean? You're like, we pull away from that. You know what I mean? As human beings, we're like, we're not going to go towards them and give them money. We might listen to them like, oh, that was a great speech, but we're not attracted to them, meaning we're not moving ourselves towards them. We're not going to click that button and buy something. So in the email communication, social media communication, or one-on-one communication, like podcasting or this or in front of people, I mean, I have a visualization. I'm talking to one person right now, which I am talking to you, Tilde. I'm talking to one person. And I want people to feel like they're just hanging out with us. Like we're just having a conversation at a coffee shop, having a cocktail, or maybe having a glass of wine or coffee, whatever, having some Baileys in the coffee, and they get to listen in. Like it's, they're just kind of hanging out with us. Not like I'm talking at them,
Exactly.
It's a very different kind of, so yes. And the email communication, you're starting to see more and more of that because it works. That's what we want as human beings. The more high tech we go, the more high touch we really want.
Right. Well, and it's also been for me kind of liberating to be able to write in my own voice instead of trying to figure it out on what to say or how to say it, and just being really authentic. It's really liberating, I think, for me, and it makes it so much easier to write an email of something that I've actually experienced myself and being able to share that. Whether it's a high or a low, and giving people advice on the things that I'm really passionate about, which is positive psychology in my newsletter. So, and then also just providing some resources, that people have shared with me that I want to share with them. So it's been really, really fun to be able to write in my own voice now and not have to worry about whether or not I'm saying it right, because it's either going to connect or not, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I do a lot of email marketing coaching, and then there's a ton of people talk about email is supposed to be this way or that way. Here's what I say about it. You want to write short or long, it doesn't matter. I think shorter is better. One thing I think about email marketing is when you send out an email, it's just literally a communication. It's not a big newsletter. I'm not a big fan of the big banner and then the right hand side where there's like different things. I feel like it's a church bulletin. Remember back in the church?
Yes.
I grew up Baptist in Houston, and we had little church bulletins. You know what I mean? We get them, and I never listened to the preacher. I'd be like reading the church bulletin. That's why I always feel like these newsletters are. Versus, I want to listen. I want to hear what's going on in her world. I want to know what's really happening. I really want to hear what's going on in her world, what she's bumping up against, what are some challenges she's facing, and maybe how can I help her? How'd she find help and move through that? That's way more exciting to me than like a church bulletin, which is a lot of what I think newsletters become. Right. Things on the hand side and the bottom and all these places to click, and it gets confusing. It's really, yes, it is get in front of your audience, but it's also to connect.
Right.
It's to connect, which is the key. People forget.
Yeah. And, and I've started this in my emails to encourage people to reply. Just hit reply and let me know, what you do, or let me know any obstacles that you're going through or what your thoughts are on this or that. And it's actually encouraging for me to know that people are reading my emails when they do respond back, and so, I really encourage people to do that and maybe add that component in asking people to respond to their email so that you get that feedback from them.
It's funny you say that because I do a lot of email marketing, like I said. And I remember when I first started doing it, I kept the unsubscribe notification on, and someone would unsubscribe and it would take me out for the day. I'm like, John5432@gmail, like, unsubscribe me. Like I would email them. I'm like, are you okay? What did I do? And I remember remember that was like threw me in tears. And now I just like don't even look at it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to know. You got to turn that off. I just highly suggest you turn that off. But I did learn also, I did the same thing you did, the reply. Here's what's funny about that. We're so used to nowadays being talked to, talked at TV, right? Billboards, whatever, social media. It's like when someone actually responds, people are like, whoa, like you responded, you know? And like, I'm real. Like they're so used to bots in a way,
right,
that you have a reality conversation from the newsletter. They know it's a newsletter. They know, you can always tell when it comes from like, eye contact or whatever. But when you respond and you have a dialogue at some level, even a thank you or, oh, I appreciate that, people just literally freak out and they become this amazing fan because like you responded to me, you know?
Yeah.
I've had that experience personally too. I've actually responded and I'm like, oh my God, you responded. I now like you. I now like you because you're real and you're not a bot and you're not an assistant. Like you really are who you say you are.
Right.
And now like I'll be your fan forever, and it really makes a difference. And I remember when I was speaking around the country, one of the speakers the last couple of years, we're sitting in this event, right? And there's like 100 people in the room and he's speaking and I think he asked like a question, kind of like a rhetorical question, but kind of a question. And there was like, no movement. And he literally clapped his hand like, hello, I'm not a TV. Like this is not. And people like, oh yeah. You can talk to me, that you can respond. People are so used to just getting information versus responding to information. So it does make a difference, but he did that. I thought that was funny, but it's true. It's very fun.
So I want to take the last few minutes and because we talked a little bit before we were going live and give them some advice on podcasting because I know that's still really big as just like Facebook Live, and social media, but podcasting is still really huge and there's such a following for that. So what are your pieces of advice for either, doing Facebook Live or podcasting?
So I just spoke at the National Professional Women here in Austin about that. And I'm speaking at the end of the month in the Women in Technology about this. And it is such a powerful medium. You already know this, Tilde. I'm not saying anything you don't already know, but I think I started in August 2015 being a guest on podcasts. We're talking here in October 2016, right? October, yeah. And from August till about January, so about a 6-month period, I was on over 100 podcasts. At this point, I've been over probably 150. I stopped counting, to be honest. The reason is because I love the medium. I love it because it's a conversation, right? And it's me adding value to you and your community, and you add value to me. It's totally a win-win. It's a fun medium. It's not a true sales environment. What I mean by that, like we're not doing a webinar, and at the end of this, you're going to go to 1234.com for the best offer. So there doesn't have that pressure of like a webinar. Right. It really is a true conversation, and my goal is to add value and have people connect with me. Right? Oh, I like her. I don't like her, or whatever. Right? Yeah. And that's a whole goal. And podcasting is an amazing medium for no matter what you do. If you're a lawyer, if you're an accountant, if you're an HR person, it doesn't matter because small businesses around the country, around the world are listening to podcasts. That's how they're getting their education, right? So it's an amazing medium. And so I highly suggest to go out there. And my first suggestion is to learn to be a guest. Here's why. When you're a guest, you have to learn your message to market. Right? You have to learn to tell your story. You have to learn to share about who you are and not feel weird about it. Okay. You can't always rely on the host to say how great you are. I mean, I've been on so many like, this is Heather Havenwood. Go for it. Like, here's who I am. You have to learn how to say who you are and share about yourself and tell how great you are. And it feels weird for a lot of women. It's like, ooh, that feels weird. Right? We want people to tell us how great we are, not like, I'm Heather and that's how great I am. It feels strange. So you get over that fear and it's a one-on-one conversation. So I highly suggest no matter what business you're in, literally dog walking, it doesn't matter. You can get on a podcast because there's a podcast out there for you. They want to hear your information.
Right.
Highly suggest.
Well, and what I've found too, because I've done several this year, and I find them just as much as fun as you do. And I think it's also helped with, like you said, honing your story. Yeah. Because the more that you tell it, the more practice that you get, and the more comfortable that you get, and the more authentic you can be about your story, and the more that people are able to connect with you. So it's definitely something that I recommend as well, and get over the fear, and just do it, because there's no camera, so you're not looking at video the way we are here. And it's just you and the podcasters. So, and it's a lot of fun.
It is a lot of fun. It's just a conversation. It's how I look at it. It's just a conversation. It's like having coffee with a friend and just having people listen in. I think that's why people like the podcast, because it is that feeling like we're just listening into their chat versus being, like I said, speak to. It's a very different kind of conversation. And also TV, if you listen to an entire hour of quote unquote news, you might see 15 different guests, but on a podcast it's usually sometimes, two people for 45 minutes. So you really get to hear their message versus a TV, which is a 2-minute spot. You really hear their message and understand their story, what they're really saying and what they believe in. And then you can choose to, like them or not. Right. I just think it's a powerful message. But as women, there's not as many podcasters out there, hosts out there. And I highly encourage women to get out there. I just had a podcast host. I actually own my own podcast called The Win. Check it out on iTunes, called The Win with Heather Havenwood. And I just had a guest on, and I talk about entrepreneurship. And this woman was a political analyst. And I told her, I was like, I don't want to go politics, right? Not going there. I'm not going there. I go, but you're a political analyst. Here's my question. How in the heck do you guys make money? Because I don't get it. Right? And it was this great conversation about the business of politics, not politics, right? Yeah. And it was a fascinating conversation, because I really was like, I don't get you guys. How do you guys just talk all day? I don't get how y'all make. Who's paying your bills? And she was explaining that to me, and it was a great conversation. So it doesn't have to be, you talk about entrepreneurship. It could be any gamut of anything,
Right. So any other advice that you have for female entrepreneurs out there that might be listening?
Oh God, don't wait for perfect, which is really, don't wait for perfect. It's never going to be perfect to get started on your project, and give yourself full permission to be clear. All right. And be clear on your power, but also give yourself full permission to fail. When you give yourself full permission to fail, you give yourself 100% permission to succeed. Right. Yeah. So it goes hand in hand. It's like getting on a bicycle. If you don't give yourself permission to fall off the bike, how can you give yourself permission to actually ride the bike really well? It goes hand in hand in business, and don't wait for perfect.
Awesome. Thank you so much for your time, Heather. Really appreciate it. Please tell people how they can connect with you.
I would love for you to connect with me. Go to heatherhavenwood.com. I also want to give you a gift that if you text the word sexy to 72,000, text the word sexy to 72,000, I give you 3 free chapters of my audiobook, Sexy Boss, that's on Audible, or you can get 3 free chapters. So thank you so much for having me. Again, I'm Heather Havenwood. Go check me out on iTunes. Tilde, this is so amazing. I love what you're doing. Womanars is amazing. I really do. I really love what you're creating, because you're creating the opportunity for women to say, I want to start a business, or I just want to take what my business is to the next level. I mean, you're just really creating that opportunity, as I really acknowledge you for putting this on. I mean, this is amazing. Thank you for saying yes to having me on. Oh, thank you, Heather, for saying yes as well. Really appreciate your support and encouragement. It means the world to me, and I know our audience appreciates the access to women like you and men like you, because we'll have men on our show as well who support the women's community. Yeah, we love men. Just like men. Dave. We love Dave because he supports women. I rule. We love men. So anyway, thank you everybody for joining us. If you like what you're watching here on Tuesdays with Tilde, please share it. Don't keep us a secret. And thank you again for watching. We'll see you guys next week.